Hello, good afternoon. I hope you are having a nice and enjoyable day. It's time to study English, right? In the previous videos I have recorded at least, was about conditional tense, right? The if clause and various verb tenses that follow this structure. We have two sentences, if clause and another sentence, and it's important to understand the difference when you use certain verb tenses, when you don't use them, right? So let's get going, because we have much to be covered. Maybe in the next few videos we will continue studying the conditional tense, right? So let's get going, shall we? Okay. Remember, we talked the last talk about it was the verb would. The verb would is used in many situations, and it's also covered in the conditional tense. When I say if pronoun, verb, right? We have here the next part of the sentence, another sentence. If this verb is followed by would, if I would, is it possible? We have already seen that no, it's not possible in general, neither will. I say, for example, if I study a lot, I will succeed. Okay, so if clause, this part of the sentence, the if clause has a verb in the simple present, so the other part of the sentence will be in the future. We have already covered this. Would, on the other hand, is used when we have the if clause in the simple past. If she was here, or if she were here, is also possible. I will explain later why it's possible. If she was here, I'd throw a party. I would give a party, okay? I would throw a party. If she was here, I'd throw a party. This is a situation that it's not real, right? I'm imagining a situation. If she was here, she wasn't here. I would throw a party. So in the if clause, it's not possible here, in this context, to use would in this part of the sentence, right? It wouldn't be right to do this. So the would goes to the next sentence, right? All right, there is a slight situation in which you can use would in the if clause, in the if part of the sentence, but it's not normal. For example, when you write a formal letter to someone, she would be grateful if you would interview her. Okay, it's strange to see would in both parts of the sentence, but it's possible in formal language. It's possible. But when you ask somebody to do something, for example, I'm asking my boss to interview a friend of mine. She would be grateful if you would interview her. Okay? When you ask somebody to do something in such context, you can use the verb would in the if part of the sentence. But it's more like an exception, okay? It's not the rule, right? Is it possible to use other verbs rather than the verbs we have already covered? For example, it's also possible to use will. It's also possible to use can. It's also possible to use may. Right? For example, if I slept 8 hours per day, I would feel rested. If I slept, I would feel rested. I might feel rested, right? I may feel rested. I could feel rested. So it's possible to interchange, but just pay attention to the context of the sentence, right? It is possible, it would be possible. If it stopped raining, we could go downtown. Okay, but just pay attention that if we have a verb in the simple past here, we use the verb could and the main verb, okay? Normally, what is the main situation that we have studied? If I have if plus past and would main verb in the infinitive tense. For example, if I studied, I would succeed. Okay? What I'm saying here is that would can be replaced by could, might. Okay? Would here can be replaced by could and might. In the same way, when I use the if part of the sentence in the present, if she goes there, she can visit me. Okay, in the same situation, when I have simple present in the if part of the sentence, the if clause, I can use here the verb can rather than will, rather than may. So just notice that it's also possible to use can, will, or may, right? Okay. Is it possible to use when in situations like conditional tense? Is it possible? No. Don't use when, right? For example, she was happy. She would be happy, sorry, if I went to the party. I can't replace if with when. No, it's not possible to use when meaning conditional, because when is an adverb, double-H word, right? It's a question word that means time. I make questions with when I want to know the duration of something, not the duration. Duration is how long, right? When I want to know how long is the duration of time. When I want to know exactly what, in the time frame, the timeline, when something happened, or when something will take place in the future. So I can use when referring to situations both in the past and the future. And that's the information I want to emphasize. I want to know when. It was in January, it was today, it will be tonight, right? When. And so, in such contexts, it's not possible to use when replacing if, because when refers to situations in which I want to know at what time something, or at what, in which context, involving in an interval of time. Whereas if is used mainly to in conditional tenses. I want to know, what if something happened? If this situation happened, what would you do, right? If I went to the party, she would be happy, right? It's a situation that I'm imagining because I didn't go to the party. You can imply that from here, okay? What would you do if you were spotted by a bear? For example, you are in the middle of the forest. What would you do if you were spotted by a bear? I would run, right? So here, the same thing. You can't replace with when. Sometimes it causes confusion because, for example, I will go to the forest, or I went to the forest last month, for example. What would you do if you were spotted? It's not when I were spotted by a bear, no. When can be used only when it's related to time frames, or when can also be an adverb, can also link sentences regarding adverbs of time, right? It can be followed by adverbs of time. It's a double H question that is very used in English, okay? All right. So that's it for this video. Next video, we'll record more and study more about conditional tenses.